So after looking at the Annapolis a little bit, we got to take a look at the Conde. I also had a really solid game in this ship right after playing that Annapolis game. These are actually back-to-back games. I really like the Conde, first of all, but it's a little bit of a brick to use sometimes. The firepower is absolutely devastating, but I do feel like I can't commit as much as I do in the Annapolis. I find that once I'm pushing somewhere, it's very difficult to remove myself from that situation. Where Annapolis feels a little more maneuverable, and like a ship that wants to play around islands, where Conde has much better shell velocity, that makes it a little more difficult to play around islands. Conde is just a big ship that takes a little while to turn sometimes. It also is a little bit of a weak broadside, although Annapolis is as well. They both have their spaced armor gimmick though. But this turning radius makes me a little bit nervous sometimes, and I just want to play at longer ranges with this ship. So then that rewards patience, right? As soon as we push in, that often leads to a full commit, which if we time that incorrectly, we're just gonna die. So I don't really want that out of my Conde games. This ship is so powerful, we want to get some really good use out of it. We can definitely carry a lot of games, not through radaring DDs and controlling cap zones, but just through raw damage. This ship is that insane. So first off, another Conde against us, and we decide to use our burst fire. But this ship gets this reload booster. This is what makes it so much easier to just use this burst compared to the Annapolis. And we just take off half the Conde's health, just like that. No citadels required. Feels pretty good, although I do have to watch out for the incomparable on the flank, and that's what's going to make this game a little bit difficult. You're going to notice the entire team on the enemy side, at least half of them, are going to sit here between B and C, and this could be an amazing farming game. However, there is going to be an incomparable on our flank that we have to angle to, and that's kind of the problem here with the Conde, is our turrets are a little bit slow. So if we want to stay angled to this incomparable, we have to turn our turrets, which then reduces the amount we can actually farm the guys on this 6 line, which is a little unfortunate. But it's patience that's required. With the Conde, the French cruisers in general, they require a lot of patience. They really are awesome ships for long, close battles. It's very easy to carry those kind of games in a Conde. However, you do need your teammates to actually give you a bit of a closer game. As we all know, there's a lot of blowouts. So I don't blame you guys for not enjoying the French cruisers all that much. Conde certainly is a incredibly powerful ship relative to the rest of the cruisers in their line. Comparing the same tier, right? As a super ship, Conde is one of the best. Henry's an alright tier 10. St. Louis can be a bit of a pain at tier 9 to play. And they do want those long games that are really close. That kind of is the French cruisers, because they need time to actually deal their damage. So this incomparable is going to actually end up getting away, unfortunately. He makes a very good decision to use concealment and island cover to basically just not die out here and provide this alternative firing angle. Like I said, when I talk about my battleships all the time, you're constantly trying to build crossfires, and it makes a cruiser's life quite difficult, where I'm considering what's going on for the enemy team that's kiting away from A, and I have to deal with an incomparable. Bit of a crossfire, although it is at longer ranges, and we have our speed boost, so we can throttle jockey just a little bit and avoid most of it. As we're getting towards the 7-minute mark in this game, we don't even have 70,000 damage yet. Certainly not an amazing result out of the Conde. If you've seen this ship before, or maybe you've played it yourself, it's not a really great start, but that's okay. We don't need the start to be great if it's going to be a close game. This ship really does ramp up in the late game. And this is kind of the issue I have sometimes when playing World of Warships. I want to get in there and make something happen early. It's difficult for me to just hang out, pause for a second, be the ship that denies an enemy team from pushing, right? That incomparable could easily just devastate our entire team if we aren't there to apply a little bit of pressure. I spent a lot of this game just doing circles where I spawned. I spawned around this point, actually a little bit towards the middle of the map from here, but I spawned in the area. I haven't really moved around. I've just been a deterrent force so far. I don't want to commit just yet. Certainly if a cruiser goes broadside with a vulnerable citadel, we do enjoy that. that is always a good time when playing the Conde. And again, we use our reload booster. We have our guns available to us again. It's a very, very nice feature of the ship. I really, really do like. And seeing how this game went, it really does have to reinforce that patient playstyle to me. Again, being gone, I've talked about this a little bit. I hadn't played for a few weeks over Christmas. I really enjoyed the Christmas season. It was a really, really solid one for me. But I wasn't playing this game all that much. So then some of my tendencies to just push in without really caring and considering what's going on in a match come out, and they don't go so well. So it took a few games to actually get back into the idea that no, we don't want to fully commit to a position unless we know it's going to get our team a massive advantage and win the game potentially, or we're just losing the game outright and we just have to try and make a play. Here's a great example of when I finally decided to push. And you're going to see here that I'm a little bit hesitant. I'm trying to consider getting a decent angle for farming these battleships if they're deciding to push through sea, but also trying to not overcommit my ship. A Conde, very strong, very good ship, can die relatively quickly if you get put in the wrong position. So I don't really want to do that. As we're pushing into the B cap, I want you to just take note of the last known location of that incomparable. He's heading north, trying to build a crossfire again. So this is something I'm considering as I'm making this push. I am hesitant, definitely, but I don't really want to get caught between a Conde, a Kurfürst, and an incomparable on the other flank. So I'm thinking about turning away when I get undetected. Trying to deal some damage to this broadside Conde while I can. Although he had speed boost up, so I do believe I underled this just a little bit, and we actually don't really get that much damage. I'm using this island cover in front of me to try and limit the angles the enemy team has on me, and I'm thinking, I'll just turn away once I go undetected and everything will be fine. I think I'll have enough time before the incomparable rounds the corner. I don't really want to show broadside to that. You'll notice as we're pushing into the B cap here, well, some of our support is turning the other way. The Hindenburg is turning the other way. Although we do have a battleship coming in from the flank, so we should be reasonably okay. However, we get plane spotted, where we know we're broadside onto the enemy Conde. So I just have to turn back in here. I couldn't actually commit to that turn. It's also possible that the incomparable would have come around the corner and just dev struck me if I committed to turn out. So we commit to a turn in. And this gets us into a bit of a difficult position since we can't get out of here. And we have to wait for the enemy team to round a lot of these corners, or at least expose ourselves to get a lot of these salvos up. You'll notice how good the shell velocity is at these closer ranges. So I think that's why I enjoy playing the Annapolis just a little bit more than the Conde. Even though the Conde is absolutely an amazing ship, I tend to get myself into these bad positions, and well, sometimes I get lucky, other times I don't. And with the Annapolis, I feel like the playstyle is so revolved around getting up to island cover, making plays around cap zones, and if you're not running a silly maximum DPM build, you actually have decent concealment to get out of positions. Where Conde definitely wants to play that open water cruiser role. You don't really want to be up against an enemy battleship at, let's say, 5 kilometers. Although this time we do get lucky. Fortunately, a lot of those shells actually went low or just hit us in the belt armor. So we're okay. We've dealt a reasonable amount of damage this game. So a really, really solid game so far. But it is just a little bit showing why I like the Annapolis playstyle a little bit more. I tend to enjoy playing around islands. I like making little pushes and using my concealment to move around the map instead of this more long-range open water playstyle. And that kind of limits me when I do play a Conde, for example, where I have to play that playstyle to get the most out of the ship, and then I make a few mistakes where I push the ship into bad position. Here it managed to work out, but I guarantee you, finding yourself next to a battleship at 6-7 kilometers usually isn't going to go so well for a Conde. Sometimes it will. Sometimes you'll actually find a broadside and be able to do massive damage with the AP. But a lot of times, overcommitting to a push isn't actually going to go so well for a Conde. You want to play that open water role. Like I talked about in the Annapolis video yesterday, this burst fire being such a powerful tool when people go dark or about to go behind islands, or you yourself are able to go behind an island. Like this, where we just barely get some vision because we lit a fire on him. That's the only reason he was lit up, so he repaired it. and then I use my burst fire to get one really heavy salvo in while I still know where he's at, and I am actually able to finish up the Conde. Little things like that are great uses of this burst fire. It gives you a lot of flexibility that the tier 10s just don't have. You have to rely on one salvo instead of two extremely accurate ones. As we push forward to hopefully deal with this GK, we don't actually have our reload boost available. So if we do decide to burst, well, we have that full reload to deal with. So that's why I'm trying to consider when I'm using that burst or not. It's very easy to just use it on the Conde when you have a reload booster available, but I try and use it very often when I have that. It's a great way to get a lot of damage very quickly. But in this case, I decided to take one normal salvo to soften the midway up before we unleash our full barrage and hopefully dev strike him. And there you go. That is the reward of patience. It paid off to wait, save our HP, not overcommit to a push too early, admittedly get a little lucky against a close range battleship, and we collected ourselves 230k and a dev strike on a CV. That's always a good time. Actually, 2 dev strikes. I forgot. The Buffalo offered himself up to us as well. And nearly 3k base XP, so almost back-to-back Supercruiser 3k base XP games. These ships are both awesome. As for the Conde, we're going with a much more normal build than the full DPM Des Moines or Annapolis build like I played yesterday. We're taking things like Concealment. We're also taking things like Superintendent to get us extra healing and extra reload boosters. Superintendent really is amazing on the French cruisers because you have so many consumables that are so good. Adrenaline Rush, obviously awesome. Heavy HE and SAP plus Top Grade Gunner is still going to give us excellent reload with a 15-kilometer concealment. Perhaps this is one of the reasons that I find Conde so clunky to play, is this poor concealment. That's what it's called. Maybe I should consider removing heavy HE and SAP shells. That way I would have a little more room to maneuver. That's something I should definitely try out. But for this video, this is how I was playing it. I think Gunfeeder is absolutely essential on this ship, given how good the AP and the HE both are. And the turrets are really slow, so Grease the Gears is definitely nice to have, considering we're taking main battery mod 3. So we have 13% worse turret traverse speed, but the reload, it's just too good to give up. Concealment, propulsion, pretty standard stuff for my normal builds, and that is the Conde. Notice, though, that I do have some credits available to me now. Been finally able to get up a decent number again. So what super ship should I be buying next? Really, it's the Dalarna or the Clausewitz. I think I'm leaning more towards the Dalarna for my next one, but hey, the Admiral Yushakov is coming out soon, I think. Is that next patch? Or two patches from now? I kind of forget, but I don't know which one to get, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. I do enjoy playing these ships and showing them on YouTube. They're very fun. Obviously, much more powerful than the tier 10s and tier 9s they fight. I'm not going to lie. Part of the fun is that insane power jump that you do get to just absolutely carry games out. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Conde, absolutely amazing, but I tend to lean towards Annapolis. I think it just fits my playstyle a little bit more. That said, though, they're both much better than the Clausewitz, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely get these two first for cruisers. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.